those are the two decisions I believe that create miracles in our lives. When we commit to an outcome and we commit that we will maintain unwavering faith, no matter what, and put forth extraordinary effort until the outcome is achieved, well, we kind of become unstoppable.
What was the tipping point? So you launched it and you sold 17,000 in the first year. What happened that it just skyrocketed? Like what was the tipping point? I mean, did someone get hold of it? Did Oprah get hold of it? Or, what do you think it was that tipped it over and it just went flying?
So I there yeah, so there I call this I call this the miracle equation. So this is my approach to all of my goals. Is I already covered one, unwavering faith. That's the first decision I make, that every goal I set, I will maintain unwavering faith through the ups and the downs and the fear and the doubt. I will just it's a commitment, like no matter what. It doesn't matter if I feel fear, I choose faith, right? And the second decision that I always make is extraordinary effort until the outcome is achieved. And extraordinary effort doesn't mean that I work 60 hours a week. In fact, it's my family's number one, not work. It means that I do at least one thing every day that moves me closer to the outcome. And so extraordinary effort for me is really about consistency until the outcome is achieved. It's not working like a maniac. It's just every day I do one thing, I move a little bit closer, and sometimes it's more than one thing, but I move closer every day. And so I just want to share that because those are the two decisions I believe that create miracles in our lives. When we commit to an outcome and we commit that we will maintain unwavering faith, no matter what, and put forth extraordinary effort until the outcome is achieved, well, we kind of become unstoppable. The only variable really becomes timing. And that for me was it. My first year, my goal was to sell 1 million copies of The Miracle Morning. That's how I was going to change 1 million lives one morning at a time. And I chose 1 year because it's just kind of the arbitrary number that we all choose. And I didn't even, it's like blind optimism. I didn't, I don't even know how to sell books. How am I going to sell 1 million copies, right? But that was the goal. And I sold 17,000 copies. Now, if you do the math on that, that means I was 98.3% short of the goal, right? Like that's by measure, that's a dismal failure, right? But those two decisions, unwavering faith and extraordinary effort until the outcome is achieved, well, it didn't waver. Now for sure, was I a little bit bummed? Like, dude, and was I also questioning how long it was going to take? I go, this might take like 100 years, but I was committed. And when the year ended, I went, you know what? If it takes the rest of my life, it's almost a commitment of how you're committed to being and not being attached to the outcome. Like, I'm going to maintain unwavering faith that I can change 1 million lives with this miracle morning, and I'm going to put forth extraordinary effort regardless of the results. If I die and at the end of my life I only 100,000 lives were changed, whatever. I did everything that I could because I maintained those two decisions. So year one, 17,000 copies. And by the way, I want to be really quickly mention what I did. I did over 150 interviews on other people's podcasts. I did 52 of my own weekly podcast episodes that I launched when I launched the book. I was on 13 television shows all over the United States. I gave 36 speeches all over the United States and Canada. That was my extraordinary effort. I did everything in my power. I also launched this Miracle Morning Community Facebook group, and I added value as much as I could there. I did everything in my power to reach 1 million people, and I reached 17,000 people. And year two, I just dusted myself off and I go, all right, let's try it again. And year two, I think I sold 23,000 copies. So not that many more, right? And year three, I don't remember the exact number, but it took me 6 years to reach that 1 million-person goal. So it was 6 years later that I sold 1 million copies of the book. And in terms of what that tipping point was, it's primarily word of mouth, right? If you read the book The Tipping Point, by the way, which I actually read that book early on, the book The Tipping Point talks about how do these companies that like struggle for years finally take off and seem like an overnight success, or individuals or brands or movements or whatever. And what they find is it was kind of that unwavering faith and extraordinary effort. Like, you just keep doing it. And then it's often different for everybody what that tipping point is. Sometimes it's just the word of mouth reaches critical mass, which is kind of what it was for me. But there was one kind of turbocharging toward the end. And that is, I was on Pat Flynn's podcast, Smart Passive Income. And Pat has a really loyal following. And Pat, on the beginning of the episode, said, Hal, I'm not a morning person. I don't want to be a morning person. Like, but I've heard this miracle morning thing is working for people. So, I'm convinced me kind of thing, right? And I'm going, how am I going to convince this guy that's got a great family life? He's very successful. Like, how am I going to convince him to wake up early? And after the interview, he goes, Hal, I'm committing to you and to my audience that I will do this for 30 days and I will share the results on, social media, and I'll just update people on the results. And he ended up becoming a Miracle Morning fanatic. I mean, he's in the movie. Like he is like a morning person diehard now. And so, yeah, so if there was anything that was a catalyst, I think his support, I think we were selling about 3,000 copies a month when I did the interview with him, and it jumped up to 5,000 copies a month. And then eventually it reached 10,000 copies a month and just kind of, stayed there for, I think until now. Yeah. So that was it. But again, I want to say it wasn't one thing. It was, at that point I had done like 250 interviews. So you never know what the one, like, I think people are like looking for that home run, that Oprah Winfrey effect, that Tim Ferriss effect. No. The only way that I'm still waiting for that. Like, I'm still waiting, like I'm still like Ellen or Oprah or like whatever, like, it's still, and it still hasn't reached that point where it sells 1 million copies overnight because it reaches this super world famous person. I have yet to reach that person. Right. But again, I'm committed until the day that I die, if you will, which hopefully is in like, 70 years or 60 years. But I will continue to maintain unwavering faith and put forth extraordinary effort. And the last thing I'll say is I took the number off. So the number was change 1 million lives. And once we reached 1 million people, I went, well, what is it now? And so my mission in life, and this is where it's forever, for the rest of my life, is to elevate the consciousness of humanity, one person and one morning at a time, through the Miracle Morning. And that's why we're coming out with the movie in December, because my friend that's a filmmaker pointed out, he goes, Hal, what percentage of people read self-help books? And I said, like 1%, maybe. He said, what percentage watch television or movies? And right when he said that, he convinced me. I go, I guess we're making a movie. Like, if we're going to reach everyone and truly elevate the consciousness of humanity, we have to put it in a form, right, where they will actually turn it on and, watch the 90-minute movie versus reading, the 150-page book. And so, yeah, that's where we're at.
Love it. I can't wait to see the movie. It sounds awesome. And I love your miracle equation, that unwavering faith and the effort. It's so important. And when you combine those two things, miracles do happen. So I love that. And that's your next book, isn't it? Miracle Equation.
Yeah, that's my latest book that came out last year, and it's kind of interesting. Miracle Morning came out in 2012, and so most people think, oh, you're really really milking that Miracle brand, right? Miracle Morning, Miracle Equation. It's actually really ironic. The Miracle Equation I created when I was 20 years old, when I was in sales, or 21, and so that was 20 years ago. So I created that before the miracle, like 15 years before the Miracle Morning was an idea. And it was called the Miracle Equation. And I used to give speeches about it in just like in my community and my company and this and that. And the irony is, the Miracle Equation, as I just described it, is the mindset and the approach that I used to turn the Miracle Morning into this worldwide movement. And then when a publisher reached out and said, hey, we would love for you to write a book with us. What book would you like to write? And I threw out like 4 or 5 ideas, and I said, I'm going to save the one that's on my heart for last, but I don't know if it's marketable. I don't know, it's kind of woo woo, I think. I don't know. And I shared the way I shared it, the Miracle Equation. And I said, I've been living this for 20 years. I said, and if you study the world's most successful people in any walk of life, you find that those are the two decisions, unwavering faith and extraordinary effort, that they've made over and over and over and over and over again, right? It's not a one-time decision. You make these over and over and over. Every day when you wake up, you go, I'm going to maintain unwavering faith that I can do everything that I need to get done today and achieve all of my outcomes. And I'm going to put forth extraordinary effort no matter what. There's no other option. And if you study the world's most successful people, you find that those are the two decisions that they've made for their entire, that led to their success. And so, yeah, so luckily the publisher was on board, and that was my first traditionally published book, The Miracle Equation. And the way that I kind of, for anybody listening, and if this is all new to you, here's how I look at the two books and how they kind of complement each other. The Miracle Morning is your daily practice for personal development, so that you can wake up every day and start the day in a peak physical, mental, emotional, spiritual state, so that you can be at your best, so that when you show up to your work or your family or whatever, right, you are the best version of yourself every day. So the Miracle Morning is that daily practice for personal development. And then the Miracle Equation is your daily process for goal achievement. And that's what I realize is a lot of people become personal development junkies, right? And they just like they read and read and read, but they don't have faith they can achieve their goals, and they don't have the habits in place to put forth that extraordinary effort. And so I kind of realized that the Miracle Equation is the next step. After this Miracle Morning, you get this practice down for your personal development. You need a process for goal achievement. You need to be able to transfer that personal development into real, tangible effort, a practice, a process that will make your biggest goals and dreams, that'll turn them from, seemingly impossible to ultimately inevitable. And I feel like that's what the Miracle Equation does to complement the Miracle Morning.
Love it.